First on the agenda, we have an application from Grand Slam. Pursuant to Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws, a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. in the Eldon F. Marrera Board of Selectmen meeting room, Town Hall, 65 North Main Street, West Bridgewater. On the application for an alteration of licensed premise by Vera Catering Incorporated, doing business as Grand Slam Pub and Pizza, 269 North Main Street, West Bridgewater. Interested parties are invited to be present and to be heard. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so they have built-in outdoor patio. Is it new or is it the existing one? Did you
This will
expand
be
it?
new. This will be replacing the current deck that's there, the old one. This will be made, it's gonna be with stone and nice patio for outside dining. In this day and age, like every restaurant pretty much needs it. So we're trying to, add that for the next springtime. Because in the winter time, it's much, with the weather and everything else, so it's more for spring and summer and
Great.
fall.
Hours are same as inside or?
Hours will be, all depending on the weather,
Yeah.
but the hours will be the same as the inside. So
Okay.
it'll be 11 till, it's done.
Lorna, has everything been submitted that we need?
Yes, everything's on order.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No, it sounds like this is the patio that's currently there, you're gonna make it permanent? Will there
Yes.
be a roof structure to it?
It will be an awning, and all the tables will have like the umbrellas on there.
Will there be drinks served?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Alright, it is a public hearing, so is there anyone from the public who would like to speak for or against? Oh, okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And is there a motion to approve the application as presented?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, all
Thank
set.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, approval of the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And accept for review the meeting minutes of September 1st.
For review. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a resignation from the Open Space and Recreation Committee. Is there a motion to accept the resignation and send a letter of thanks?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does that mean there's an opening now?
No. Yes.
Do we have to talk about that? I don't know. It gets
I don't think
posted.
so. Yeah, Lorna will post it.
Yep.
Right.
Perfect.
Water Department Secretary, is she coming in, David, or?
I believe she is supposed to be here, but she is not here now.
Okay. I guess we can hold off on that one for now. Site plan review for 256 and 258 Pleasant Street. I believe they want to build a 30,000 square foot warehouse. 258 Pleasant Street is currently a home.
Yes.
Will that be torn down?
Yes. Yep, so there's a little home on the left-hand side, and there's a barn in the back of it. Both of them will be torn down. There'll be a 39,000 square foot office storage space that will be constructed. Later date, there will be a 27,000 square foot facility that would be built as well. The idea is, again, for it to be chiefly storage space. It sits on 23 acres. Yep, so if
Oh, I like this.
good. I was gonna premise it by saying we're giving this a shot for the first time tonight. So you will see here, that is the house that is going to get torn down.
Oh, no
And,
kidding.
yep.
Okay.
and then you'll see there's the barn. And that entire parcel sits about 23 acres. It's all gonna be on the left-hand side.
Now, across the street, there's a duplex.
So,
Yeah, on the corner.
yep, just spin.
Right there.
So
Right there.
there's the duplex, so it's directly across from that warehouse there. And then, as Lorna said, on the right-hand side, there is that duplex a little bit further down.
And that's fairly new. So there's still a house in there. Okay.
Yep, so that
That's-
house will remain, that is a separate piece of property.
Is this part of the, whatever they do next door, the dirt pile, whatever they're doing in there?
That is correct. It's all the same parcel. So that's the house that will stay because that's a different piece of property.
Except that's the house
No,
being
that white
torn
house?
down. That's
Nope.
the
That's
white
the
one.
one
Nope,
coming
that's-
down.
That's 258.
Yeah, that's the house being
Uh,
torn down.
Sorry,
That's the barn next to it.
Yep.
There is a house after it.
that is
There
correct.
is a house.
That other house is
There's
gonna
one
stay.
more house.
So basically, this here is gonna be the property that we're looking at. That all comes down. You can see, as the chairman said, there's some of the construction that is going on behind there now, which is basically being used as a storage yard. So this will certainly make it a lot nicer once you have the facilities on there. So the planning board will be doing a site plan review, and the role of the Board of Selectmen at this point is to provide any comments to them if there's any concerns, questions, positive or negative.
Does anyone have comments they'd like to send to the planning board?
So this is going to be mainly storage, correct?
So it's 39,000 square feet, combination of office space and storage space. They do not delineate between the two at this point. And then eventually there would be 27,000 square feet at a later date of the same. I don't know which was gonna predominantly be more than the other.
But we really don't know what type of storage and how frequent the trips would be in and out or anything like that.
We do not.
This isn't meant to be any sort of 24-hour facility that you're aware of, is it?
To my knowledge, I don't wanna say, because I don't know. I'm envisioning that when I looked at the plan, that the storage space is gonna be chiefly more like those self-service facilities that you go to, which is also gonna have more across the street.
Right.
So,
So consumer storage.
correct, and I mean, I think in that case there, 24-hour access probably has to be allowed. I mean, if I'm renting there and I wanna get to it at 11 o'clock at night, it's my stuff. It's different than a traditional commercial entity, because I'm not driving a commercial car, I'm just driving my personal car, driving in, pulling out, a desk or whatever. But I do not know how much is going to be of one and how much is gonna be of the other.
So I know we should comment on lighting, sounds, the aesthetic, planting of trees.
Sure.
Is there any sort of fencing that we wanna ask for to make sure it separates from the residential houses that are still there? I don't know what we can ask for.
Yeah. I think it can be a difficult intersection there, so I think they have to be cautious of where they're placing driveways, entrances and exits from the building. I think that's not even on plan yet, right, is it? Okay, so I think I would express that concern as to where the access, the entrance and exit's going to be.
So there you go, there's the plan there. So Pleasant Street is in the front. You can see it looks like they have 2 access points. It looks like there'll be some storage and retail, storage and office space in the front, and then eventually in the back is where that other new, at a later date, proposed building may be. You can see on the left-hand side, to Mary's concern, looks like there's some parking. There's a fence that looks like it's gonna be installed on the left-hand side. It's too small, I can't read the size of it, but they're usually 6 or 8 feet stockade.
Stockade, is that the
Let's see.
ugly? It's the-
So proposed 6-foot wooden stockade fence. So you can see that they're proposing fence there along the perimeter of the facility, because there are some residential buildings to the left-hand side there.
So I think that if you can go back to the plan, David,
Mhm.
if I'm looking at it correctly, that driveway on the left, is that coming right out at that intersection?
I would say no,
No?
but it's, I'm gonna guess a couple hundred feet.
How does it work with the town planting trees along the road? I know that there is a distance from, the pavement in that the town actually owns the trees. is there a point where we say we want trees planted for a certain look? Or is that something that's done
Nope.
separately or?
Nope, we could certainly ask. It looks like they have a landscaping plan up front. That's what these beautiful little circles look like. So it looks like there is some vegetation out front at this point that they're proposing. Hopefully it all looks better than that. But in any event, so it looks like they're proposing some vegetation out front. That should be on their property, not on town property. We normally own somewhere around 5 to 8 feet on the side, called the town layout. So it should be, and it looks like if you could see, there is some white space between the edge of the road to where the circles and the vegetation starts. So I don't know if it's drawn to scale or not, but I'm gonna guess that that represents 5 or 8 feet. And then there'll be a vegetation plan, so that'll serve multiple purposes. But again, just because they're proposing it, doesn't mean that they have to do it. So if you like that, then I think that we should include it in the comments so the planning board knows that they should retain it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's required.
And just, again, my only, strong sentiment is on the placement of that driveway. I'd like them to look closely at its, how it comes out at, it's coming out at that intersection or not. And it's not because of heavy traffic, it's more so that it's narrow down there.
It is, it's a very quiet area. So I don't wanna see too much light and have it lit up like a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah. So it's sort of a cut through, it's narrow, that little intersection.
It looks like there's one before, right after that intersection. You can kind of see the little island right there in the middle.
Slide 35.
Is there a way we could specify that it has to be downward facing light?
Oh, I see what you're
can't be
saying. You
shining
think that's the
out?
intersection right
It looks
there?
like it, yeah.
Yeah,
One
okay.
entrance before, one
Okay,
after.
that makes more sense.
So our town bylaws already require downward-facing lights on all new projects.
Okay.
So that will be part of it, but we could certainly include it as part of the language.
Somehow, I hate seeing all of these things pop up that are gonna look like bright parking lots with farm fields all around them.
Well, it's pretty similar to the ones right across the street.
I know.
This one is
Yeah, so what else can we comment to try to make it fit in more with its landscape? They've got the landscaping, we talked about, it sounds like they've got the fencing, which is considerate.
hours of operation, you were saying is probably 24 hours?
Well, again, I think it depends on what it ultimately becomes. If it's gonna be storage and people wanna be able to get to their self-service, I think we'd be doing our own residents a disservice, because think of it, it's West Bridgewater residents that will be using it.
Yeah.
So we don't wanna be telling a West Bridgewater resident they can't access their own stuff. Usually those are locked gates. You'll have a passcode of some kind if you rent there, and that way you can access it at whatever time. And then, so, I mean, if you want to put limitations on hours when employees can be there, like that might make sense. That way they don't have employee operations there at 2:00 in the morning. Self-storage doesn't usually have more than maybe one security person there at night, if even that.
Yeah, we wanna limit the noise, make sure it's considerate of the residents around them. Do you need a motion for any of this?
Yes.
So moved. So what kind of a motion do you need?
So moved with the recommendations made by the board?
Which
Make a
were-
motion. Huh?
Yeah, we
Did you
just want to
get
make
them,
sure we
Lana?
capture them.
Are you
so-
sure?
Yeah.
We wanna pay attention,
You
make
got
sure
it?
the fencing is
Okay.
there, we wanna make sure that vegetation, the trees along the Pleasant Street there, that's absolutely gotta remain. Lighting, sounds, were there any changes to the entrance or exit?
No, I think now understanding where it is, I'm okay with that.
You're okay with
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Lighting, sound. Was that everything?
Oh, yeah. Do you have
So
anything?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, Ms. Corbett is here now with a member of the Water Department, if you would like
Okay.
to.
Yeah, Carrie, would you like to introduce us?
Sure thing.
This is Alicia Corbett. She'll be starting with us on Monday, October 25th. She'll be working part-time in the water department, and we're happy to have her.
Great.
Excellent.
Any questions or?
No, congratulations. Good for you.
Congratulations.
Welcome. So is there a motion to ratify the employment?
Contract, so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wish the best.
Okay, site plan review for One Component Park. So this is the old Club Fit that's now a nursery type business. David, I honestly don't know that much about this one. Do you want to tell us what they're doing?
Sure. So currently they operate, they store and sell plants on an existing 30,000 square foot facility. There is a foundation that is already there from a pre-existing facility that's been torn down in the past. They're going to build on that foundation. That is going to be roughly around 30,000 square feet. 22,000 of that square feet will be for storage of plants. About 8,700 of it will be retained for office or retail space. They do not have a tenant for those people at this point, but that's what's envisioned. The total facility will then have 119 parking spaces. And the idea is that for them to expand, they sell their plants to retailers at this point. I've met with the owner. To his credit, the owner is doing well. He's looking to expand, so he needs to be able to store more plants and have the ability to be able to pick them up and store and deliver them to his retailers.
So they are not open to the public?
They are not a retail facility or open to the public at this point.
Currently, but this includes retail.
So the way it's proposed in, according to the narrative, is that they would allow 8,700 square feet of the new facility for retail and office space. I'm assuming some of that office space is going to be for themselves, and that they would be looking, according to the narrative, they would be looking to potentially bring in a retailer of some sort. It's unclear as to whether or not it would be specific to plants or not. My guess is that they don't even know. Again, I'm just guessing. This is pure speculation on my part. But my guess is that they would just be trying to turn additional revenue by renting it to somebody else. But again, I've not spoken to the developer specific to that.
Okay, we have received some comments and suggestions from, I'm assuming it's from everyone collaboratively, with 4 suggestions to limit deliveries to 10 p.m. or to stop deliveries from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, and 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. On the weekends. Keep bay doors closed unless actively in use, and no outdoor storage. Personally, I'm entirely in favor of the first 3. The outdoor storage one, I feel like could be a necessary part of their business. Comments?
What are the current hours? So right now, it's saying 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is when they're open?
So I think that one of the, probably, it might help to let anyone, we're getting feedback from these speakers, I keep hearing. I don't know if you can fix that, Ben. It might help if you open it up to the public, because they could probably give us a better overview of what they've experienced of the business operating. There have been numerous complaints about the operation, so I think it might help to hear from them a little bit, an understanding of what's been going on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just know that we're just sending recommendations to the planning board. The planning board issues a special permit. These are just recommendations, but yeah, if anyone would like to speak about it, they're more than able to.
Michael Bear, 32 Glenmere Street, direct abutter to this place. And, you know, I don't know who the building inspector is or the commissioner, but I received this and downloaded it, and I don't know where he's getting any of his information from. but his suggestion is to put up a 8-foot fence in between my property and their property, which I've already done. I went from a 6-foot to an 8-foot 2 years ago because of the noise, 24/7 over there. They've got trucks coming in the middle of the night, especially in the wintertime. They'll sit there and they'll idle, and my master bedroom abuts their property, and all I hear is the noise bouncing off their building into my bedroom. I have contacted Derek many times about this. When he first bought the place, I went over, introduced myself. Everything was fine and hunky-dory. The problem is that it kept getting worse and worse and worse. He's got employees that drive up in the morning on Saturdays, Monday through Friday and Saturday. Their music is blasting. They park right outside my bedroom window and they sit there until it's time for them to go to work. I mean, it's ridiculous. And my biggest concern is where are they gonna load and unload these trucks from? If it's gonna be on my side, then there's gonna be hell to pay. It needs to be on the opposite side, on the Howard Street side, where there's no, all that's over there is the church. Okay, which they'll disturb, and they're not supposed to be having business hours on Sunday anyway. But in this paper here, it says that they can start at 5 a.m., and that's not right. We went through all this with Turner Steel years ago, and it's a 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock, Monday through Friday, not Saturday and not Sunday. Sunday is 0 business hours, but they have been there many times on Sundays, loading and unloading trucks. And they do it right, I mean, my backyard is right there. I can literally see them in their trucks. I have pictures that I've taken, which was my wife's suggestion, of the fence. And my concern is how high are they gonna go with this building? Is it gonna stay the same height as the building that's existing there, or are they gonna go higher? Because from my driveway, I can see about, I don't know, probably 20 feet of the top of their, say 15 feet, top of their building. And their solution to the noise or cutting down the lights that shine into my windows is they parked an 18-wheeler right across the side of my house, on the other side of the fence. I mean, these are not, you know, being in a butter, I'm a businessman, self-employed. I understand business, I understand this is gonna happen. I really believe it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna kid myself. But there's other ways of configuring what they wanna do to a least noise, and it's not really a sight thing because you can't see over my fence, but a noise level if it was on the opposite side of where they're gonna, but right now they pull the trucks in and, you know, and you hear the damn loaders, beeping every time they back up. I know it's a safety issue, but you know, live next door to that, 6 days a week. It's not fun, it's not fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone else like to speak? Go ahead.
My name is Eleanor Keating, and I'm at 44 Commonwealth Avenue. This is a pocket industrial area. It was initially set up about 20 years ago so they could install a cellular tower. And at that time, Turner Steel was the same size, and so was the component building. And we have noticed that now they have, when they moved in as a place of business, they didn't notify, tell anyone around there. And the abutters are in a small street with 25 houses there. And they've never notified us for anything. And I think it's a common courtesy, but I'm concerned about the fact of the noise. And when we had the cellular tower could come in, it was from 7 o'clock in the morning until like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. That was it. No, what are those breaks called?
Jake breaks?
Jake breaks, no Jake breaks. They were really concerned and toned down the lighting, and they were really concerned and for the neighborhood. This, I haven't seen any concern at all. Now, when I've been away and I've come back, there are big moving trucks there now. I mean, it's a commercial enterprise now. That I'm really surprised that they've been able to get away with that at all. And it looks like they're just taking over that whole area, even though it's a pocket industrial part, and they should be way down on Manley Street if they're gonna start doing that stuff. I have a major problem with that. There are children around, babies, everything. They're totally gonna affect the existence of all of these abutters.
Thank you.
Sean Cullinane, 52 Commonwealth Ave. You know, one of the biggest things I notice and I hear, and I know it's been a complaint of other neighbors, is I know there's an idling law in the state of Massachusetts, and 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, these trucks all start up, they're all diesels, and they just run and run and run. When they're unloading at night and loading at night, they run and run and run. And all those fumes, depending on the wind, cascade right down through the street, right on, down Glenmere, on the Commonwealth. Our neighbor has 2 small kids, there's a bunch on the other side. It's not something we want to sit there and, you know, take in all day. It's kind of annoying.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Me, I'm really loud about it. I've been really trying to get in contact with them. Everybody's already discussed the trucks and the noise and everything. There's a lot of personal use going on there on the weekends as well. We have what I believe are groups of employees that show up with dirt bikes and motorcycles and 4-wheelers. They go flying around the property and they have a good time and they've got their music blaring and they're hanging out and doing their stuff and they're really loud and yelling back and forth and swearing and doing a lot of that. And that's fine, except we've contacted the owner and he has completely denied that these things go on. Every time we've contacted him about something, we've contacted him about deliveries as early as 4 o'clock in the morning. Regular deliveries at 4 o'clock in the morning. He completely denies that these things even happen. I mean, I've got footage of it. I'm watching it with my own eyes. It's happening. I've called the police. It's happening. And he completely lies about it. And now he refuses to even accept the phone calls. So he's unresponsive. He's not been, you know, a good neighbor. And now he's expecting to expand and impose on us even more. And it's a problem. So we do really need some help with maybe making some suggestions or something to restrict the hours of operation and the sound and the lighting and the employees. I know when he's on vacation because the employees are having a free-for-all on the property. I mean, I wish I could be joking, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know when he's not around. I'll call him. You're not around because your employee, he's not around. And I can't get a hold of him. So we do need some help putting some restrictions on this property. Like Mike said, I understand that this is gonna happen. We're not completely against business. We know it's gonna happen. We just wanna live happily next door to each other. And that's not happening right now.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say one more thing, Mike Beer, 32 Glenmere Street, as Marcy reminded me when she was saying about calling and talking to Derek. It was Father's Day on a Sunday, not this past one, the one before, I believe, and a truck on Sunday morning between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning is backing into the property, beep, 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 and I had just had enough. So I have Derek's personal number, I called him on his cell phone number to complain to him, and he answered the phone. I said, Derek, this is ridiculous. They're backing a truck up. And I can hear the beep coming from his phone. He was right there at the time that this was happening. And he just said, hey, you know, we got a delivery, we got to take care of it. That was, you know, but you know, he doesn't, and I said to him, you know, how would you like me to come to your house and sit in front of your house and make all these noises, you know? At the beginning it was great, but he's become a complete businessman versus a residential / businessman.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So I'm hearing a few recommendations. Recommendation for a loading dock to be located on the Howard side. Recommendation that there'll be no idling vehicles. Recommendation for hours of deliveries and outdoor yard activity to be limited to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And keeping doors and docks closed unless there's active activity.
Can we remove the Sunday time? I'd like
No
to have
Sunday.
some peace and quiet.
There's a church
One
there.
day, yeah, there's a church there.
I only put the Sunday on there because I thought that they would have to be able to be open. So, I mean, if Sunday hours are not like a requirement, I definitely would prefer to have a Sunday off. I'm in complete agreement with abolishing the Sunday completely.
So from a retail perspective,
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
very good
right.
question.
so maybe the retail portion could be open on Sunday?
Just no deliveries and.
Right.
Right, I would be
But
okay
then
with
we
that.
have questions about retail. Like, what kind of retail can we accommodate there? We don't even have a street going in there. There's no real public access. You've got driveways,
driveways
you
on
know what I
either
mean?
side.
You've got 2 driveways going in there. So, I mean, what kind of retail are we gonna have there? What's the traffic flow gonna be like? He doesn't have a tenant in mind currently, but if we don't put restrictions on what he can do with his tenant now, he can do anything he wants with the tenant later. He can rent to anybody, and they can have constant flow of traffic coming in around between the Howard School and 28 coming around like that just seems completely ridiculous. The idea of having retail there is just crazy to me to begin with, but without restrictions or even questions about traffic flow, I have concerns about that as well. And then I do apologize, I did put down at the bottom on my paper here, truck gate at the entrance possibly, because he has had deliveries coming in the middle of the night that he denies come in. So if the property's gonna be closed at night, as it should be, I'm suggesting a gate at the end of both entrances that gets shut at the end of business hours every day.
That's a very good idea.
Is there a way to limit him allowing personal use of the land, like with the dirt bikes and stuff?
I would
Is there
call
a
it,
way to?
I think in my opinion, it's an
Has to be
based
for
on the
business?
actions, it's an irresponsible business owner.
Yes.
So I think whatever recommendations we make, they have to be strongly relayed to the planning board. And when they go through the process, ensure they're all in there. And because whatever is in the planning board's orders is what's enforceable. And up to this point, I mean, the activities that have been happening there, it's irresponsible. I don't even know why they'd allow it there, because it's also a liability. If one of those,
He's out of
That's what
town.
I'm
He's out
surprised
of town.
about.
yeah.
He's not there. It's
So-
just his employees.
Yeah, if he says, hey, I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. If he's and he's got deniability.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a way to say that the use can only be used for its intended commercial use? Like there can be no personal use during off hours?
Do we have the right to do that?
I mean, say it.
I mean, we just say something along the
Say
lines. The property has to be used for its intended
Yeah.
business use and see what happens.
I mean, I believe that if the police are called after a certain number of times, David, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's any enforcement or financial enforcement action, that if the police are called, a dozen times over dirt bikes ripping through the parking lot, is there some sort of financial penalty for that eventually? Because we can't have the police down there every other day because ATVs and dirt bikes are ripping through the parking lot.
So, I always want to try to say the right thing. Look, I've been trying to assist some of the residents there because there has to be the right balance. And at least in my opinion, I don't think the right balance has been achieved. And so hopefully we'll be able to find a better balance going forward. To answer your specific question, it would be difficult on the police because in order to be able to find and enforce, what is it that they're finding and enforcing? It is private property. And so if somebody wants to drive a dirt bike that is a legal dirt bike on private property, to my knowledge, there is no law that prevents that. So I don't believe the police can enforce. Now, there are noise nuisances, and if somebody was able to prove that that dirt bike exceeded whatever that noise nuisance is, then the Board of Health, using DEP regulations, would be able to have some enforcement. But if it's a regular bike, the stock bike, they haven't done anything, and it just happens to be loud, most likely that dirt bike meets whatever requirements, legal requirements, and we just know they're loud. So I do think that part is a challenge to our police department.
So could we include in this, in our recommendation, that the facility is a non-amusement facility? In other words, it's an intended business, not an amusement
Steal
park.
that word from you.
And I think the other important points to make is no burning on the property.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Burning.
Yeah.
Burning.
They
No
denied
burning.
that as well. Yeah.
Do we, I know with liquor, with restaurants and bars, they have to have a manager on duty at all times. Is that ever enforced for the, okay, no, all right. I agree with Anthony on the outdoor storage because of the type of facility it is. Maybe the hours will mitigate some of that sound, but I have a problem with stormwater management. We're already dealing with our own PFAS issues. This type of facility, there's going to be runoff water. There'll be.
They water outdoor, sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. They water outdoor with sprinklers.
So there's going to be fertilizer, there's going to be pesticides, there's going to be chemicals being used, and there's going to be runoff water from that. So we do need to strongly advise that they are in compliance with our stormwater management. And that would be John Delano involved in that.
That's
so.
correct.
So that's another emphasis for the planning board.
Can I ask a question? How
Yes.
big can that be? I know they have a pad for part of it, which was part of the component building that they knocked down. But can they have it 2 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories? Do
There's
we
a high
know?
restriction of 35 feet, is that right? 35 or 40?
It's either 35, I'd have to look it up in that area, but it's either 35 or 40. That is
Feet
correct.
high?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does anyone know what the height of it is right now?
No, but the ICS building was, my understanding was that the one that it was constructed in 2017 when they moved in? Or was it a pre-existing building?
Pre-existing.
It was pre-existing.
So, if that building is more than 50 years old, then it would not apply to our zoning. If it was built within the past 50 years, it has to be below 35 or 40 feet. I don't know the answer to that.
And just one other question if I could. Being that we're all abutters that are here tonight, or the majority of us, will we be notified, please, of any upcoming
So
to have to do with the
they're
situation?
required to notify within X amount of feet, do you know how many feet?
I think it's, if usually notification to abutters is 300 feet. I don't know if a site plan review requires notification to abutters. Special permits,
Okay.
but not necessarily site plan review. However, I've made a commitment to the CEO of your organization that I will make sure that.
It's a damn good one.
I don't use the word fear a lot, but in all honesty, I've made a
Wise
commitment to
man.
her that once I knew more, that I would pass it along.
Fantastic, thank you.
Is that
And I
Marcy Lee? She
appreciate
didn't
that.
tell.
Thank you.
She didn't tell us her name. The CEO never
I-
said her name, so I think it's Marcy Lee.
Marcy,
President
28
Glenmere
Glenmere
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more?
Peter.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Turner?
Hi, Peter Turner, 390 Forest Street. I'm speaking on behalf of the First Church in a butter on the Howard Street side. We recognize there's been a business there, almost, not as long as the church has been there, but there's been a business there quite a while, and that's fine. I am not speaking directly for the church, but just on behalf of them, because we had not voted on it, what I was going to say. But I do not think that there will be any problem with trucks being unloaded and loaded on the Howard Street side, but there will be some beeping. I don't know how our next door neighbors will feel about that, because there is a house on both sides of us. And they may not be very happy of the loading and unloading. I have a feeling that Turner Steel kind of figured out the solution, and there seemed to be a fairly good neighbor. They put a chain across the front of it, no trucks go in the bad times. And I would think that would also kind of slow down the dirt bikes if they cannot get their cars in there to drop off their dirt bikes. I don't think St. Neil's will let them park over there and drive across, but we'll see. But the only thing I hope that they'll do is it's been kind of, the road's been kind of a dumpster between the church and the building for the last couple of years. And we hope that when they do build a structure, they'll clean that up also. We prefer to have a good neighbor. We used to have good neighbors many years ago. We hope to have another good neighbor. I'm sure these folks do also.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Okay, so is there anything else we'd like to incorporate? Maybe just cleaning up the area, requiring that it be,
Yeah.
especially the First Church side. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Lorna, you got everything? Yep.
I'll play it back, maybe.
Could you just, Lorna, would you mind just reading back to us before I second
Sure,
the
it's
motion?
very rough.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
Let me see what I have here.
I think I have the list. If you'd
Alright.
rather me do it.
So loading docks on the church side, the Howard Street side, limit noise, delivery hours to, are we doing away with Sunday?
Yes, for
Okay, that
delivery
was my only
hours.
question.
Yes.
Delivery hours here I have, I'm scrolling back, Monday through Friday.
6 a.m. to 10,
6 a.m. to
Saturday.
10,
Should
and then
be
Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yep.
Mhm.
You want the doors and the bays and stuff locked and closed when they're not operating.
Mhm.
I have no deliveries on Sunday. Are we including the retail operations, or are we leaving that out?
I'm not sure what to include with that.
I don't know if we know enough yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that there should be a gate or a chain
Yeah.
across
And
something.
I have
Gated
requesting a truck
facility.
gate at entrance that are shut at the end of every business day.
Okay.
That the
And-
property must be used for the intended business.
Okay.
Mhm.
Stormwater management compliance.
Scrolling down here, I have that there should be no burning on the property and that they must comply with all stormwater management requirements.
And could you add no idling vehicles?
No idling.
And the last one was capturing the cleanup of the,
And I do have that. I wrote cleanup area and road between First Church.
thank you. Okay.
So
there's-
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming
Thank you
in.
guys, seriously.
forward.
So this is, all we do is we make recommendations, so attending the other meetings is going to be important for you.
We'll be there.
We got the CEO lead. the way.
Okay.
We'll send warning.
You're all getting stock options from her company, right?
All right, next on the agenda, we have authorized representative and authorized reporter of ARPA grant. It's recommended that the town accountant, assistant town accountant, Sue Kent, be authorized to prepare and enter information into Plymouth County ARPA portal, and that the town administrator be authorized to approve, finalize, and submit on behalf of the town. Does anyone have any comment or?
Oh, nope,
Okay.
nope, I was ready to say so moved, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and there's a change order for the light at Howard Street and 106. The police department had a camera out front that has been removed and needs to be reinstalled.
Is that just for the camera?
Yeah,
Isn't that for other services too?
Yeah, it was cheap, we had to move, there was 4 cameras that had to be moved. When you do that, obviously you incur some other expense when it comes to concrete, detail work, so the total net of it becomes $3,280. 1/3 of it is for police details. You have to have police details. It's a busy road. It's 30,000 cars that go by there every single day.
Wow.
And I think that the protection of all of our employees is worth a couple of grand. So for $3,000 on a $600,000 project, I think we've done a pretty good job of staying within budget.
So I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment period.
Anyone have anything else?
I got some concerns. Matt Melcher, 48 Columbus Ave. More I read up about it, the more I get concerned about it for the future of kids, everything else, is the PFAS levels in town. I know we've tested over, and I know we're getting public notification by the 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What are we doing about it short term? I understand they were very proactive about allocating funds for engineering costs and everything else for a long-term solution. But what are we gonna do for a short-term solution?
So I
Supplying water.
attended the water department meeting on Monday, and Matt is also my son-in-law, and
Tell people that.
well,
I'd say that too.
in full fairness, I'm disclosing that I do know him personally, and he does live in my household too, so now everyone knows, the poor man, huh? But I attended the water department meeting on Monday night, and their short-term plan is to have a spigot at the water department available between the hours of 7 to 2, Monday through Friday, for those that fall in the sensitive group, meaning sensitive to this chemical by virtue of being pregnant, an infant, I think toddler too, and specific types of health risks to go get water. You cannot boil PFAS out of your water, so it's not like when you have certain types of, like an E. coli, I don't even know if you can boil E. coli, but let's just say that, for example, you can boil and you can use the water, you can't do that with PFAS. And I think everyone agrees that we were kind of served an injustice when the federal level is 70, but Massachusetts agreed to drop it down to 20 for our state. That's the level at which you go over for a quarter, you fail. But, you know, I'm gonna have to trust they know something we don't know, and maybe it's not just drinking of the water, maybe it's the combination of everything else that contains PFAS. Anything from makeup to your clothing to containers, it's in a lot of different things. So maybe it's just, you know, a matter of 10% of it here, 10% here, and you keep adding it up, and now your exposure is at a greater risk. So the water department's immediate plan is the spigot. There were Al Crockett, a resident in town who also works for the Randolph Water Department, attended the meeting, provided quite a bit of information about what Randolph is doing, and that's coming firsthand from someone with experience. They have a portable type of unit where they can put it maybe at a more convenient spot. We had discussion about some reimbursement funding that may be available to the water department to help with expenses associated with providing clean water. And like that's it, the letter is going to be coming out at the end of this month, notifying everyone that this is who falls into this group and what you need to do. And then, of course, everyone else is going to have to make their own independent decision based on their own best judgment as to whether or not they want to drink the water.
Can I just add one more thing?
Please, go ahead.
I know the letter that's coming out, excuse me, states that it only affects pregnant women, you know, everything like that, a certain category of people. But on the Mass DEP website, I'll actually read it right off here if I can. The drinking water standard is set to be protective against adverse health effects for all people consuming the water. That's what the DEP states. It is a long-term exposure to the water, but it's something I want my kids to be safe drinking, to, you know, the elderly at Life Care to be safe drinking. You know, one of my biggest concerns is supplying the schools, supplying Life Care. Things to that effect, they can't go fill up 5-gallon jugs. You know, my elderly neighbors who have been sick for a while, that's my biggest concerns.
So just thinking off the top of my head, I think what I would like to do is to see if we can ask, and I know we can't insist on it, or well, we could insist on it, doesn't mean we're going to get it, maybe a weekly update from the water department as to where they are in this process, whether it's with, I mean, right now, with regards to working with DEP to see if they can get the funding for some of these expenses, where they are with future plans as far as maybe a portable or a more conveniently located water station. If they can extend the hours, 7 to 2 is difficult, especially when you're thinking, okay, it's people who may be ill and women who are pregnant. They're going to need, if they're weak like me, they may need their husband to come or someone else to come carry that 5-gallon container of water, to get a weekly update, because our office is going to get the phone calls. David, Lorna, and Linda are going to get the phone calls. So if they could get some sort of weekly update from the water department, doesn't have to be, 5 pages long, bullet points. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Will there be updates about that quickly? What's, and what? I don't understand the reasoning behind the 7 to 2. Why can the water only be accessed between if it's a spigot? I'm thinking outdoor, turn off.
There's a few things with that. They are going to locate it over a gated drain, so that try to avoid freezing. Plus, Sear Street's isolated. I would be concerned about anyone going down there at night. And, we don't necessarily, I keep saying, we don't necessarily want a lot of people down at the water department at nighttime. And it could, once you open it up to come get the water, then, and you say it's available till 9 o'clock, then they'll be down there, they could be down there late at night. And again, it's a secluded area. I wouldn't want to be down there at night without anyone around.
So it's only available Monday through Friday?
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Am I missing something?
That's what they've initially proposed.
Do you know what that system in Easton costs, though?
So the system in Easton is, I don't have a price on the system in Easton, but I believe it was expensive, more expensive than what Randolph has. I think Randolph has I think it's the Blue Drop system it's called.
No idea.
So it's less expensive, and our understanding is that they're using the reimbursement program to fund it. So it was recommended that the water department was given the name of the person, our water department was given the name of the person at the Randolph Water Department to contact, to try to find out what their practices have been and what they've done. Might as well, if it's possible, mimic what they've already done. And if the funding is there, maybe they can even help them with whatever applications they need to prepare to get the funding. It is a reimbursement, so they clearly will need the cash to outlay.
Reimbursement by DEP?
I think it's DEP. I think it is DEP.
That sounds like a separate full-time job almost, trying to do all the paperwork and reimbursements and.
It sounds like it, but again, I think Randolph has already done this process, so it won't be a matter, if they utilize their contacts, it won't be a matter of, I have to learn from step one. They could start with Randolph explaining to them what they did. They work together, a lot of these different department heads in different towns they'll be more than happy to share with you their experience and give you some guidelines. Plus, the water department has just hired a part-time person, so they do have more administrative help.
Can I add something else? I've been calling around to every different town that's running into the same thing. There's a lot in the state that's running into the same thing with a new order from the state. I know the best solution so far that I've heard from anybody, the water kiosks, everything like that, they're worried about the freeze-up issue. We got winter coming, we got a frost coming, everything like, the town of Sharon has had the best luck with anything. I'm not gonna name drop them, but the gentleman I've been talking to from the Mass DEP told me to call the town of Sharon. Yes, their population is over double ours, but they have a outside system that hooks up for well water that feeds off an iron and manganese plant that filters out all the PFAS. They're getting a 0% out of this. I reached out to the water department and sent them the information, the contact information, the agent that Sharon has used, everything. I mean, it was pricey, but I talked to Michelle Dubois today, and she's hoping to find us some funds. So I know we can't fund it ourselves. It'll completely cripple the community, but clean water's everything.
And what the water department will be working on is they do have to go through a pilot study, provide that to the DEP, make sure whatever they're looking at installing is compliant with the type of PFAS we have. I think we have PFAS 6. PFAS 6 I think it is. And then get DEP approval to move forward. So as far as how long will we need to be getting bottled water, or accessing Sear Street or whatever the option is, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. It's more likely, in my guesstimate, unless there's something that's a quick fix, we're looking at a year. And I don't know how I don't know if they take a step back. If we pass under at some point, does that mean we can go back to regular water?
Correct.
So, but we would need 3 months.
Correct. Well, it's a rolling quarterly average.
Okay. So if we stay above, that's where we'll be. But I think at least communication, that's what's key right now, is communication that either we can share or the water department shares, but I think it's important we're in the know as to what's going on. And I don't know, David, what you think about a weekly or?
We can ask. My guess is there'll be some weeks that they legitimately don't have an update, and they would just have to state that.
Okay, and that's fine.
The water spigot has to be on Sear Street. I mean, we couldn't move it to the transfer station where half the town goes anyway.
No, it's because that's where the water's,
There
that's
must
where
be
the
a
well
separate-
is.
oh,
The well
it's a
is
well.
there.
That's why.
And
Okay.
that location has tested amongst the lowest.
Wow.
Anyone else have anything for public comment period? Okay, town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first on my agenda is the fact that we currently have mutual aid agreements for our building department with East Bridgewater, and we have always had one with the town of Rainham as well. That one has now expired, and so I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to ratify it with the town of Rainham. The Board of Selectmen in Rainham have already approved it on their side, so I would ask you to approve it on your side. And this just allows that when our building commissioner is on vacation, or if he was out for an extended period of time for whatever reason, is that somebody could come in here and help us and backfill, and we would do the same for the town of Rainham.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is an update to the board and your request for resignation from the principal assessor. I have met with the chairman of the Board of Assessors. I've also met with the principal assessor as well. The update at this point is that due to his actions, the Board of Assessors have voted and imposed the fact that he will serve a 5-day unpaid suspension in the month of December after we set the tax rate. And then in reference to specifically the request for the resignation, is that Mr. Donahue will retire and leave the town of West Bridgewater effective May 1st, 2022. Next is an update on Veterans Day. This year, Veterans Day is in Bridgewater. The parade starts at 10 a.m. They do ask everybody to get there at 9 o'clock, but from experience, I'm sure 9:20 and 9:30 is, especially if it's cold and rainy. So I'll get you more details. At this point, it looks like it's going to start at Spring Hill Ave for West Bridgewater. You'll recall that every town starts at a different place and then ends up at the same location. The location will be Legion Field. And at that point, normally a select person from each town will speak. So Annie, who sits on our Veterans Day Committee, will be in touch with the board and find out which one of you would like to be able to speak. So I assume she'll reach out to you as chair. Next on the update is Howard Street. We did have a change order, as you know, but we're almost at the completion of this. Over the next couple of weeks, we will have the rest of the road painted and lined. That is a sublet to a contractor, so we're a little bit at their whim. But that will be done, and then we will turn the lights on effectively. Right now, they are blinking. And the last is that an update on the opiate lawsuits. Right now, there are 5 different companies, Johnson & Johnson, Malin Crockett, a handful of others, that have all basically Purdue, who have entered into settlements. The total for all of them at this point totals somewhere around $26 billion to be paid out over a 9 or 10 year period of time, depending on, they're all staggered a little bit. You know, I think that this board deserves a lot of credit because we signed on really early, and we were looking to be able to take advantage of this, we'll call it a class action lawsuit, but it's a multi-district lawsuit, a little bit different but similar, that's been litigated in litigated in Ohio. Unfortunately, it's politics, so all the Attorney General's offices, including ours in Massachusetts, has come in at the last minute, and there is a decree in our Constitution that says that state law usurps local law. So right now there is back and forth with negotiations with our Attorney General and all the others with their respective cities, towns, and Attorney Generals as to who's going to get what. So we're looking at this point, we have been arguing that there should be a 50-50 split. We were never going to do better than 50-50, so that's what we've been arguing, and they have been arguing a much different allocation. So when our Attorney General comes out and says that she's done a really nice job, that's true. at the very end, but we did all the heavy work at the beginning. In any event, bottom line is, it's good for Massachusetts. I have no doubt that the Attorney General will do a really good job with the money that she receives and dole it out, because it's not going to just sit in Boston. It'll still be distributed at some level throughout the entire Commonwealth, and then whatever money we have on the local end, we'll have to make some decisions on what we do as well. But in any event, we do see light at the end of the tunnel, and as I know more, obviously I will update the board. And that's it for now.
Thank you, David. With there nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks everyone for coming.